Well, my name is Bill Cox, and I was born and raised down in Barron County, Kentucky, and grew up on the farm. We were just 8 of us siblings, so there's 10 in the family. And we lived in an old farmhouse that, until I was about 12 years old, we didn't even have electricity. We grew up, our parents were good people, but we didn't go to church. We just lived a good life, but we very seldom ever went to church. And so I didn't know anything really about the Bible. I knew John 3:16, a few things like that, but almost nothing. Of course, it's the way the Lord worked. I can see the Lord working all the way back when I was real young, I had no idea about coming to Indiana when I got out of high school. I thought I was going to join the Army is what I had in my mind, but I had kind of got tired of the farm and decided I didn't want any more of that. So, like I said, my sister lived in Jeffersonville, so she come down one weekend, and I came home with her. And that's when I met my wife and everything. And she just lived 3 doors up the street from the tabernacle, and had lived there for several years. And she got a twin sister that's still living in Arizona. And the 2 of them had been to the tabernacle a number of times, they didn't go regular, but they'd go down sometimes. And that's kind of how I heard of Brother Branham, And we lived, a few years later, we lived in Jeffersonville, just about a mile and a half from the tabernacle, up Highway 10. And there was a couple that we knew real well that was going to the tabernacle, and they'd come when Brother Branham was in town. They'd come and go to the morning service, then they'd come to our house and stay till time for the evening service, and they was always trying to get us to go down there and listen to Brother Branham, because he'd tell us about how he discerned people out and told them where they lived and their name and everything, and I was 100% skeptic. And they kept on till I told them, I said, "Oh, you got a fortune teller." Like I said, I was a critic all the way. And so I finally told my wife, I said, "We're going to go down and see what they got." Well, we went down, and I don't even remember now that day was kind of blank. Most of it was kind of blanked out. And I don't remember how we got in or nothing, but we got in, got a seat and everything, And of course, he never came out until it was time for him to preach. The singing was over, and Brother Neville would introduce him, and he'd come out. Well, like I said, I'd never seen him before or nothing, but I was sitting there still wondering what this guy is, and really aimed to really make something out of it, to be truthful. And he come out of his office, and as soon as he stepped out on the platform, before he got to the podium, there was something went over me like, boy, just like that. And it scared me, because I said, "What's going on?" And I didn't know what in the world was going on, but he can't. That stayed on me the whole time. He came out and he preached, and of course, what he preached I didn't even know was in the Bible. It's completely foreign to me. And but when he got through preaching, I told the wife, I said, "I don't know what that man's got, but one thing I do know, I want some of it."
Amen. That's so true.
So And so it, then we had 3 kids, and the baby he was going to preach at Parkview Junior High School there on North 8th Street and shit. And we went, well, from the time I saw him, and we went every time he was in town, we'd go and try to get in. Even sometimes sit in the car and listen to him on the station, you know, had to get close. That was tough. If it hadn't been for being so hungry for the Lord, I don't think we'd have done that, because it was hot. Of course, 99% of the cars didn't even have air conditioner back then, you know. And so, but we sat there and listened to him when we could, and then we started going to Brother Jackson's church, mostly because the tabernacle was so crowded and everything. And we started going there, and our kids, well, when we started going to Brother Jackson's, our oldest one was 4, and the second was 2, or no, just 6 months. Then the baby hadn't been born yet, so when she was born with a hole in her heart. And after she was a few months old, the doctors checked it, and they said the hole was about the size of a dime. And, you know, a little 3 or 4 months old baby, a hole the size of a dime is a great big hole. And so of course we prayed about it and everything else, and I'd heard and saw, you know, him call people out and tell them what was wrong with them, where they lived and everything, but I never did know those people, you know. So we got in the schoolhouse, and we were back a little past mid-court on the floor, you know, within folding seats, just folding chairs. And he was, of course, you all probably don't remember, you're not old enough to, but he was preaching from a stage between the gymnasium and the auditorium. And when he was preaching, he was turned, we saw his profile, you know, but he wasn't facing either one of us. And he got through preaching, "Who is this male Melchizedek?" And he walked out in the middle of the stage and turned his back to us. And he called out, I think it was 4 different people, and told them in the auditorium where they lived. I can't hardly do this without crying.
You're fine. Yeah.
He pointed back over his shoulder like this. And I see a man behind me. His name is Mr. Cox, and he's got a baby with a hole in her heart.
You believe? Hallelujah. To my back, there's a man sitting behind me. He's contacting God. And what he's wanting, he's got a baby that's got heart trouble. And that baby has got a murmur in his heart, so the doctor said. And that man's name is Mr. Cox. Stand up, Mr. Cox. And he told Sarah what she was thinking behind him.
And that's all he said. And of course, by then I felt like I was up here somewhere.
Wow.
And so we went on in, and we had an appointment with the doctor at the Children's Hospital in Louisville when she was a year old. They told us that when she was 6 months old and they found the hole, they told us that we'd have to wait till she was a year old to do anything about it. And then, you know, heart surgery was just getting started, and it scared us to death, you know. But anyway, We believed it, you know, and everything. Wife, she was more faithful than I was, I think, on it. But we both stayed with it and said we're going to wait, take her to the hospital when she's a year old. Well, of course, I was working, couldn't afford to take off back then, and the wife took her over there herself, you know. I didn't know it till I got home. She said it just so happened that when she went in to get her checked, she got the same doctor that had checked her when she was 6 months old, which was just a hospital doctor, and just happened to be that way, you know. And so said he's no Greek guy, but said he took the pictures and the nurse brought them out. You know, they brought them out and hung them on the wall then, the pictures. And said, he told the nurse, he said, "Nurse, you got the wrong pictures." She went back and checked it. Brought the old pictures out. They were 6 months old, hung them up beside of those. He said, "I can't believe it," said, "this baby's heart's perfect."
Amen. Amen. Wow.
But, and she's 58 now and never has had any heart trouble.
That's